Good morning, everybody, and a beautiful day to you. I just got back from walking almost 2 miles. What a lovely way to start a morning. I adore it. It's just beautiful to see the sun increasingly come in the way that it reflects and exalts one detail or another that ordinarily you may see but you don't pay attention to. Your gaze doesn't pause on it. Anyway, I love it. It's just a beautiful day. Today I have another poem for you. This poem is from a publication, a project that was put together by the poet Sean Stradley with various artists. And it was called the Nine Muses Project. It resulted in an exhibition, a couple of exhibitions, and then also a book. And in it, 9 poets and 9 artists were challenged to describe or write about or approach each of the 9 muses, so that each poet would write 9 poems, each artist would do 9 paintings. And the artists were assigned a poem by each one of the poets, so that there was quite a variety of work that each person could do and work through. It was quite an interesting challenge to tackle this project. The person who put it together is Sean Stradley, who's a good poet, very good poet. He's a member of my poetry group, and he's one of the poets I have most interacted with. He's has an MFA from Vermont. Anyway, the Muses are these interesting figures in Western history. Like so much of the Greeks, they haunt us. They're around everywhere. The Greeks and the Romans have just left so much in us, such that I can't speak without using Latin and often Greek. If I were doing medicine, my gosh, it would be heavily Greek. Even though my language is English. So that I've seen estimates that something like 60% of English vocabulary totally is from Latin by one way or another, through French or directly. And that includes Greek that's been embedded in Latin. And so that's part of the complexity of our civilization. And there's so many ideas and so many things that come encoded in that history that, to be honest, we don't normally think of. And one of those things is the sun, the great sun god of the Romans, who comes and illuminates us. I mean, I was very impressed by being in Italy, near the Po River, and walking into an old Catholic church that in its origins was a Roman temple, and seeing an oculus above the dome that was at the center of it. And the oculus was there. Oculus, or oculus, means eye, and it was there for the eye of the sun to come in, or the eye that allowed the sun to come in, to be seen in this temple. And, I've since then been in other civilizations and other places, and it's fascinating in the Inca domain to see temples where there's a hole that allows the light of the moon to come in, and people would understand the movement of the seasons by the light of the moon. In this is something about people bringing transcendence, bringing greatness down to earth. And we see this so strongly in our religion. As I've said before, Christ borrowed the sun imagery, or the Christians borrowed the sun imagery when they started spreading in the Roman Empire as a way of justifying Christ. And so the sun is a common image of Christ. That's S-U-N and S-O-N. There are very good reasons for that confusion in English. But the idea of transcendent is so much more than that. And people around the globe have found many reasons for making something or another transcendent. I'm struck by how the Incas, when they wanted to fast, and probably the people before the Incas did the same thing, when they wanted to fast to move into a holy state, they would fast by avoiding chili peppers, ají as they call it, and salt. And even today in Peru or Bolivia, the word ají is a common word for food. And ají is a kind of cooking. It's the use of hot peppers to make food food. It transforms it, it makes it transcendent. And the chili, that ají is in the holy mythology of the Inca Empire. One of the Ayar brothers, the four brothers who came out of the earth to found the Inca Empire, according to one set of stories. One of them was the chili pepper, Ayar Uchu, the chili pepper. Another one was Ayar Kachi, the salt. And so those things are transformative. They make a huge difference. And so I'm fascinated by this idea of transformation and by its sacredness. I'm also fascinated by, as you're going to see, I was assigned, of the 9 poets, the 9 muses, the one I'm going to read today is Euterpe. I'm not convinced by the English pronunciation, I'll tell you, but oh well. Euterpe, who is the muse of lyric poetry. And I've often wrestled with that idea of lyric poetry. There are people who hate it, who consider lyric poetry as the bane of modern writing. There are other people who exalt it. And there are many things in lyric poetry. One of the key things is that it's musical, that it was meant to be accompanied. It's kind of a song. And so Euterpe was depicted with flute and lyre and so on. But in the modern sense, it becomes that of the I, sort of the exaltation, a different I, not the E-Y-E, but just the letter I, the jo, the ego, in Latin, ego, the self. That is to say, that becomes the transcendent, that which guarantees. And so in this poem, you're going to see a lot of play around the notion of lyric and what actually constitutes lyric. A very simple, small poem, you're going to see notions of transcendent and the creations and debates around transcendent. And you're going to see, oddly enough, the challenge to the I, because part of this is the I makes theological enunciations that then are falsified within the poem itself. And you can see this, if you wish, as a kind of man at a bar making this finger wagging, blah, 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 blah. I mean, Lord, you see them all over the internet these days. People challenging each other about the virus and it's false and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Men waving their you-know-what. You see it as that, or you can see it as this kind of complex statement about the nature of reality. So anyway, that's my blah, blah, blah. Academic that I am, going on and on, probably far too much. And the poem is so small and so short that it might have been better just to read it to you. Anyway, here it is. Euterpe. I could have sworn pomegranates were pregnant with hordes of wet rubies. They speak secrets. But limes, sliced in eighths, make good tacos, and they change fish to white. Thank you. That's my theology for today. Bye.